And we're live. Let's adjust this camera a little bit. There we go. There we go. We're a little bit live. Massive beer reviews live. Wasn't planning on doing a beer review today live, actually. But it was a beautiful day. And with beautiful days come beautiful car rides. And me and my beautiful wife, a lot of beautiful going on today, decided to take a trip. We're like, let's take a little road trip. Go meandering around in the backcountry, not necessarily going anywhere specific. And I was like, but we're kind of figuring out what direction we wanted to head. And I was like, you know what? Since COVID really went down, I have not visited Muckraker and spent some money there. So I decided, screw it. I will buy a couple big crowlers of beer. We'll head out that way and work our way back home. Long story longer, I get the Muckraker, and as per Tom's classic Tomisms, he's like, I got a beer for you. You should review it. And yeah, he ended up giving me this one. And I just realized that it's corked. So I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to get the cork out of this goddamn thing. But anyway, it's actually a beer that's going to be coming out in a week or two for, at first, they're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They're, club, the membership only kind of thing. Typically what they do is they release beers that people can buy kind of in advance and stuff like that, and then eventually it comes available to the public. So this is kind of like a little sneak preview, if you will, of beers. I'm trying to think if I could have something I could savor this with. Last time? Yeah, you want to go grab me something, babe?
What do you need?
A cork, a wine opener. Something with a corkscrew. Huh?
Something with a corkscrew?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, end up going up there, got a couple crowds of stuff. It's really just more beers for me to kind of crush and kind of drink and do all that kind of thing. And he dropped this on me. And this has got a lot of moving parts in it. But as you could see, he actually wrote the name on it with a nice wax pencil. And I smudged the shit out of it like an asshole. So it is called Frambijou, I believe. Frambijou Tarte, and Tarte with an E, for purposeful reasons. The reason being is that the beer is resembling of kind of what I said before even dawned on me, because he read off the ingredients to me, kind of like a French kind of pastry, kind of breakfasty, kind of dessert kind of thing. And that way, it is a framboise. Can I kind of tell that based off of the name? So raspberry, spontaneously fermented wild ale with vanilla, specific kind of vanilla. I think you said Mexican vanilla. And then after it was fermented, I guess it was racked into French oak that contained cherries. So you got a little bit of creek vibes probably going on in this too, in combination with more vanilla, cinnamon, and there is, I believe, one more ingredient that I am leaving out. I think, maybe. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. So came in, he said probably right around like 6 and change % alcohol by volume. So we'll see what's what. Like I said, my wife is going to go grab a little corkscrew thing for me. She's walking back as I speak. And we'll crack into it and see what's what. Got my little stemless wine glass here. Get a little fancy with it. It's a little bit windy. The sound might not be the best. So let's jump into the comments real quick before I actually dive into this sucker. Thank you very much, babe. We have Bill Box chiming in saying, hey everybody, Bill Box, like team leader when it comes to online massive beer reviews. He's always here, so I appreciate that, brother. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? And we have both Beer Geek Holland and Dutch Beer Geek chiming in. What's going on, fellas? And great day for a beer review, says Rob Nelson. Yes, it is. So let's pop in this sucker. Let's see what she's got. It just kicked up crazy wind-wise right now, so we'll see how this actually plays on video. It's the best you're gonna get. So yeah, I should have known this was gonna be corked, so that's kind of my bad. So, but it gives me time to yammer and just speak long. Oh, look at that. You're supposed to twist the bottle. I didn't. I'm an asshole. So hopefully we can get this out without having too much fall into the beer itself. Yeah, there's a decent amount of cork left in there. So figure after all this time I'd learn how to open corked beers correctly. That's why everybody should savor. far. Look at this. This is massive, horrible cork reviews. Okay. There we go. We got it. A little bit of technical difficulties on that one, so we'll see what's what. Anyway, let's give this a pour, see what she's got. I mean, it's coming out exactly the color. You're talking about raspberries, you're talking about cherries. I mean, I expected it to come out kind of like strawberry shortcake in color. It does not disappoint in that kind of sense. And she's got a really nice soft carbonation on her. Not much of a head. A ton of adjuncts. Spontaneously fermented beer. I'm not going to sit here and say I was expecting a ton, but we'll see what's what. Sorry about keeping that in the light, Tom. It is what it is. Yeah, let's actually get a nose on it. Oh, man. That smells exactly like something, and I don't know what it is, and it's going to drive me fucking insane. So there's a decent tartness to it. Again, a lot of the Muckraker beers and a lot of the beers that he makes skew a little bit more kind of fruit kind of forward, a little bit more fruit colored, or fruit forward, as opposed to just generic like enamel ripping kind of sour, and that's where this one's leaning. What is that? What does that smell like? Smell that, babe. This smells like something like a... I know exactly what it smells like. I'm gonna see if she actually mentions it. What does that smell like to you? I know exactly what it smells like. I'm not sure if Tom's gonna be happy about this though. I don't care. Okay, she hates raspberries, so she's making a turned up nose. It smells exactly like a raspberry. You know Werther's Original's made the fruited Werther's Original? That's exactly what this smells like. So it has this kind of big kind of fruit component, raspberry forward. There's that little bit of cherry in there, but you get that kind of vanilla from both ends of the spectrum, from the initial kind of initial fermentation to actually being racked into barrels, and probably a little bit from the wood, to be perfectly honest with you. And it gives you that kind of creamy Werther's Original kind of candy. It's a sucker candy for those who never had it. But the Werther's Original sucker candies have this kind of creaminess to them when you actually suck on them. It's not like a straight sugary sweet kind of refined sugar kind of sweetness. It has this kind of softness to it, and that's what you're getting here from that kind of vanilla addition, and probably, like I said, a little bit from the wood in combination. The way, yeah, exactly. That's exactly. I'm actually surprised I actually came up with that as what that smell is, because I haven't had one of those in probably over 10 years. But that's a positive thing in my eyes. It doesn't come off artificial. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say, oh, it smells like fake raspberry and fake cherry. No, it just has that kind of cream kind of thing going on, which kind of makes sense with the beer, because it's a tart with an E, which is a cake, not tart as in sour. So you're looking for a raspberry cherry cream tart. Now there is cinnamon in this, and I believe that's the one thing that I missed in the initial ingredients when I read them off. And I'm not going to say it's not there, but it's not like overtly cinnamon, which is kind of good, because for me, cinnamon can get heavy-handed very quickly. So it's more kind of that breakfast tart thing that I assumed it was going to be when he first explained it to me. And I'm kind of pumped that it's kind of leaning that way. So it smells really good. It's going to dive right in. Cheers. Ooh. Okay. Cool little twist there. There's a more sprightly kind of carbonation than I expected based off of the look. It's not overly carbonated. It's not even like, I guess you would say, appropriately carbonated, but it gives this little fizz in the initial sip, which I kind of really enjoy. It's not nearly as sweet as you think it'd be based off of the nose, because when you get that nose and you get that kind of that Werther's fruit forward kind of cream sucker candy thing, that kind of as I said, kind of French breakfast dessert kind of raspberry cherry tart with a little bit of kind of creme on top of it, that kind of sweetness, that's what you get in the nose. So you kind of like expect it to go in that direction when you actually get in the taste, but it's not. The sweetness is pretty reserved. You get a really decent amount of dryness from, it has to be that oak. I believe there's, and this could be the case too, the other ingredients I believe I'm missing mentally from the original notes is maple syrup. I think it was maple syrup, maybe even a little bit of honey. And that can actually, oddly enough, if it is honey or natural kind of syrup and stuff like that, sometimes you can get that enzyme that's actually in fruit beer, so that can dry a beer out a little bit, keep it from getting overly sweet, but there's some sweetness there, but it's definitely kind of beaten back by the amount of kind of that fresh French oakiness, which I think is a bonus, because it ends up being way more drinkable. It doesn't come even anywhere sniff the realm of being like overly cloying or anything like that. The raspberry is the star of the show. There's this extra pop to it, probably from that second racking edition, from that cherry, which is just not necessarily giving it huge cherry vibes, just adding a little bit more kind of oomph to that fruit factor. The vanilla is done absolutely perfectly. I thought it was going to be a little bit heavy-handed based off of how creamy and how sweet it was on the nose. It doesn't follow through that big in the taste, which is, again, appreciated. I love the way it kind of finishes dry. Mouth feels nice. Like I said, it's not carbonated a lot, but I get this little sprightly little fizz on a first sip, which is fun. It's a really good beer. I mean, it's spent a year in the making, and these are the kind of beers that I think is almost impossible to fake time on these kind of things. I think, you know, a lot of people try to produce beers with a bunch of different adjuncts, a bunch of different flavors, a bunch of different wood and whatnot, and they hurry that process. They go 6 months, they go 8 months, you know, stuff like that. And really these beers, to round out and become this soft in the edges, yes, yet vibrant in the middle, they need the time. There's no way to fake that. And it comes off readily apparent in this beer. This is absolutely tasty stuff. And I'm not gonna lie to you, probably the best beer I've ever had from Muckraker. It just is doing me all kinds of proper. I can't get it over that nose and that how appropriate it smells and tastes. It doesn't, let me finish my thought before I go there, like a kind of raspberry tart. Now, it doesn't drink and taste exactly like that. It's not like someone added a bunch of tarts, raspberry tarts, to a kettle. It's imparting a lot of flavors that end up making you think of a raspberry tart. I think that's a much cooler thing, a much more complicated thing, a much more refined thing. I'll get hoity-toity here, flourish that pinky for you, than just throwing a bunch of fucking tart flavored bullshit into a beer and hopefully it comes out tasting like a tart. I think that's more what beer is all about, is that taking ingredients that elicit those kind of memories and thoughts about specific things without actually doing that. Anyway, so yeah, raspberry through and through. That cherry adds a little bit of a kick. Really nice kind of, the mouthfeel is appropriate, but it has that little pop of fizz just at the taste that kind of adds a little bit of excitement to it. The vanilla, well, huge in the nose, which I've really enjoyed, doesn't follow up and is a little bit more of a secondary, third player in the taste. Very much appreciative, because vanilla can be overly heavily handed. And just that way it finishes with that dryness, predominantly coming from that fresh French oak, is one of my favorite finishes with pretty much all beers of those kind of, this kind of ilk, and very tasty stuff. So yeah, is this one of the better fruited tart, fruited sour? We're gonna go sour because that's kind of what it would be classified as. Fruited sour beers that I've had as of late. Yes, without a doubt, it's up there. Maybe even Mount Rushmore status. It probably is. I don't know why I'm hesitating on putting it there. It's just the stuff that I like to drink, and it's done really, really well. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, fuck, you know, I want 30 bottles and open one bottle every year for 30 years kind of beer. If that makes any sense to anybody out there. Just delicious. And it's gonna be available. Like I said, it's gonna be for members only, but you know, a lot of the beers that Tom puts out there at Muckraker end up being something that, you know, the public can go and buy. So you're looking 2 weeks from now, it'll probably be available. I don't know the price point. I don't know any of that stuff. Like I said, he just kind of tossed me a bottle for fun skis today. So yeah, definitely worth, if you're a regular up that way, or you're gonna be getting some pickup, which you should be doing right now, supporting local and supporting your local breweries. It's definitely going to be, definitely does not suck. So it's worth picking up. Let's see, valued availability. Like I said, I actually don't know. I mean, availability is going to be almost, I would assume it's just going to be available. I mean, that's kind of how shit rolls nowadays. As far as cost, no idea. Leave you with, if you like what we like this, if you like fruit forward tart beers that don't lean into that sour realm all that much. If you like fruit forward beers, if you like spontaneous beers that are extremely fruit forward, if you like organic fruit forward beers, again, fruit on fruit on fruit, but you want to add that added bonus of you're cool with that kind of more mature dessertiness of like French cuisine, to where you're getting that creme, you're getting that sweetness, you're getting that vanilla, but it's not over the top. It's more adulty, it's not sweet on sweet on sweet, and then it ends up being something that is just way more enjoyable than sugar on sugar. If those are the kind of fruit forward beers or desserts or whatever you may like, then you will like this. So there you go, another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Massive Beers and Beer Massif if you would like to see me doing the whole podcasting thing. We interviewed Tom even before he opened, so you can go check that out, see what he's all about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the live review. Hopefully you're enjoying a beer right now. Hopefully see you in a bit. We'll go to comments real quick before we actually sign off, just so I can see what's what. And then we have Carlos Pena saying, how you doing? Matt Massive, I'm doing great, man. Hello, Matt with 1T from Doug Hesselman's. I am good, man. I am good, Douglas with 1L. There you go. Bill Box says, wow, that looks good. It just says Dutch Beer Geek. And Doug and Eric, everybody's chiming in on that color. Everybody's loving the color. So yeah, beautiful day. Beautiful, breezy, sour fruited ale kind of day that it is, Carlos. So there you go, guys. We're wrapping it up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Go check some Muckraker out. Talk to you later.